17th. Fall clearly is here and maybe even winter is coming. This evening we have a very lengthy agenda, so please be patient with us. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked on a variety of topics. The packet's about 206 pages or something close to that, and it's taken some work on everyone to be prepared for this evening's meeting. That will include Janice Voss, who will be talking about the election. Then we go into a consent agenda that includes minutes for approval, draft agendas, and work session topics. Then we have several discussions and approval process, and these will be public hearing items. So those of you who will be here for the public hearings, make sure you are here probably by 4:20. They will include, Ann Martins will be doing a public works update for all of those of you who are interested in the 2016 road improvement project and the road bill levy fund for 2017. We're already planning for next year, as you can hear from what I just said. We'll be looking at hopefully another draft of the budget, which is very extensive, and I know there's a lot of questions from my fellow town council members on the budget. So Marianne will be here. I imagine that's going to be a little lengthy. Then we'll go into a hearing. This is on the annexation of Lot 2, second amended plat of the Gentry lot split subdivision into the town of Snowmass Village by Lois Pope. And then our consultants for our comp plan will be introduced. Julianne will be doing so. Looking at the agenda for our Thursday night meeting with EOTC, that's a packed agenda, and Dave Peckler will be guiding us through that agenda. Then Building 6, something everyone is excited about, which is the introduction of our new purchasers of Base Village, as well as looking at the community purpose building. And then last but not least, we will be going into executive session for issues related to personnel matters. And that should be a lengthy evening, so are you sure? Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can accomplish very quickly then, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, having said all of that, I'm going to ask Rhonda to do roll call.
Butler?
Here.
Circus?
Here.
Mattson?
Here.
Chang?
Here. Okay.
Here.
The first item on the agenda is the election update, and that is Janice Voss. You got to be at the mic. You feel better standing?
This is perfect.
Okay. Welcome. I didn't see you walk over. Walk in.
Hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Janice Voss Caudill, and I'm Picken County Clerk and Recorder. So I'm running your election, this presidential. I wanted to review with you some of the logistics and answer any questions you may have specifically for the community. So mainly why I'm here is let your community know how they can vote. So today, October 17th, ballots dropped in the mail to all active registered voters in Picken County out of Denver. So watch for your ballot in the mail Wednesday or Thursday of this week, okay? Hopefully, last week everybody studied the Tabor notice, which was dropped on the 7th of October, and everybody's received their blue book, okay? It's a long ballot this year. It's a 22-inch ballot, longest one I've ever seen. And I'm encouraging everybody to return their ballots early because we can't expand our operations. We only have limited space. So if you get it back to us early, our operations will run more smoothly. So where can you drop your ballot? You have a brand new, thank you, Jen. You have a brand new permanent drop box in the entrance of Snowmass Town Hall. So if anybody doesn't want to mail their ballot back to our office, which takes 2 stamps, they can drop it off at the drop outside the door of Town Hall. It has 24/7 surveillance camera, okay, and we will harvest the ballots every day, okay, starting on Friday. The other place you can drop your ballots off is almost 50% of people physically drop their ballots off at the election office, and we're not on Main Street anymore. We're at 501 East Hyman, and that's in the old Ute City building in Aspen. So if you're in town in Aspen, you can drop your ballot off at our office during office hours. The other place you can drop a mail ballot off is at any service center Early voting will be at the Aspen Jewish Community Center starting next Monday, the 24th, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and on Saturdays, the 29th and 5th, from 10 to 2. Monday before the election, and of course on Election Day from 7 to 7. In addition to the Aspen Jewish Community Center on Election Day, right here, we will have a polling center at Snowmass Town Hall, and that's open from 7 to 7 on November 8th, Tuesday. The third place, if you're traveling through the valley, if you want to drop your ballot or vote in person, is Grace Church in Emma. So in Picken County on Election Day, we have 3 service centers open, and you can stop at any one of them. You can register to vote up until and on Election Day in the state of Colorado as long as you've lived in Colorado 22 days or more. I think today is the 22nd day before the election. You can register to vote in Colorado. Okay? All right, what else do I want to tell you? If you want to track if you received your mail ballot in the mail, I want to remind people to register online. You can register online now at pickandvotes.com. Or new smartphones. If you text Colorado, CO, and you send it to the number 2 vote, the Secretary of State will send you the link so you can register on your smartphone. So I say that so the younger people.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. So see, younger. So on your smartphones, so if you text to Colorado, you can CO or you can spell out Colorado, and you send it to the number 2, VOTE. Okay. The Secretary of State will send you a link to register online. Okay, and you can register online up until the 31st of October. Okay, that's a week before the election. We cannot mail ballots out after November 1st, so you'll have to go to a service center if you want to vote in person. Okay, for that. If you want to track if you receive your ballot or not, there's a couple different ways. We do have a new service that's free called Ballot Tracks. If you go to pickandvotes.com, you've got it. And you probably received a notice today, text or voice or email, if you are in Ballot Tracks that the ballot's been dropped. It's a neat service. It's free. It's like tracking a package. So if you go to pickandvotes.com, halfway down the page is Ballot Tracks. It's easy to sign up. We will send you a notification, again, text, email, or voicemail when your ballot was dropped, when we received it back in our office, and when your ballot was accepted. And what does that mean when it's been accepted? It means it's gone through the signature verification process and your ballot has been accepted to be cast. Okay. And lastly, a couple things. Did you know that 85% of people know a month ahead of the election how they're going to vote? Statistical study, valid, that 85% of people know a month ahead. It's a good reason why to send your ballot back early. Another one is to ensure we receive it back and we count it in the election. Third one is it's a long ballot, so there's going to be long lines on Election Day because it's going to take longer to vote that long ballot. Another one is inclement weather. And I think the best reason why is so we can process the ballots, and after 7 o'clock on election night, the more ballots returned, the stronger the outcomes shortly after 7 o'clock p.m. By law, we release the totals, our tallies, after 7 o'clock p.m., around 9 o'clock, and at the end of the night. So you can go online to pickandvotes.com. We will be linked in the state election night reporting system. The first thing we do after 7 o'clock p.m., we upload the tallies, we turn around and upload those results into the state election night reporting system. So wherever you are, at whatever party you're at, stay there, and you can go right online and see what the results are, not only locally, you can look at them countywide, and you can look at them statewide, okay, for your outcomes on election night. Have any questions? Okay, most important thing is study your issues. Ballot drops in the mail this week. Get your ballots back early next week.
To register in person, what kind of identification do you need?
So when you register in person, you're going to provide either your driver's license, the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, okay? Behind this, in the system is associated with the Department of Revenue Driver's License Division, and it cross-references accuracy of that information. In addition, the Department of Revenue Driver License Division has an agreement with the Federal Commission of Social Security, and we cross-reference the information for accuracy also on the Social Security number.
Janet, the To register online, the deadline is October 31st.
Right, the last date online is October 31st.
And if in person, if they were to come down to the Ute Building, what date?
Sure, they can, well, in person, they can come to the Ute Building, or they can go to early voting. Go to the Service Center early voting, or on Election Day here. They
So
can
they
register.
could come on Election Day and still register.
As long as they lived in Colorado for 22
20
days or more,
today.
they are over 18, they're American citizen.
Are you seeing voter registration go up compared to prior years so far?
It usually spikes in a presidential. Yeah.
Okay.
We know that, we were pulling statistics the other day, and we have over 1,200 that registered, and this includes changes as well. So this includes moves in states, changes with addresses, et cetera. Over 1,200. We calculate about 330 are new from outside the county in the county that have
Okay.
registered, and that continues each day.
Okay.
Any other questions for your community?
Just a quick question, another one. You know, there's all this stuff, talk about rigging of the election. I'm sure that you've worked very, very hard to have a foolproof system.
You know, I'm glad you asked that. Very good. Because there's two systems we work with. There's the voter registration system that is manned by the Secretary of State's office. And I know that all Secretary of States within the United States has been working with Homeland Security. And you've probably heard that two systems within the U.S. have been hacked and have gotten through to security. It's Arizona and Illinois. You know, I'm proud to say that Wayne Williams, our Secretary of State, has worked with Homeland Security. They have reviewed his security processes, and he has done the utmost in assuring security with the system. In addition, people should know that he has a full-time person that the job is for security and risk management of that system. So I'm feeling confident with that. Of course, we always worry about things like that. So the other thing that you should be concerned about, or the voters should know, is that our election equipment is a standalone system. So when we cast your ballot, that is in our office behind a gate under lock and key. We have surveillance 60 days before the election and 30 days after the election, continuous surveillance. We have coding to get into our offices, which documents who's going in and who's going out. There are only two people that know two-point authentication to get into the voting system for tallying the system. So I can't express enough how many measures we put in place for the security. In addition, we test all the equipment with the Democrat and Republican Party, every piece of equipment before the election and seal it up, and we test post-election audit of the equipment afterwards to ensure it was operating correctly during the election.
That's
I
very,
can
very
go
good.
on with more, but those are the highlights.
Sounds pretty
Good.
intense.
Yeah.
Yes, Rhonda?
Could you just mention electioneering for
Okay.
everyone?
So when we have a voter center here on Election Day, and also you have a drop box, and there's a sign on the drop box that no one is allowed to electioneer 100 feet outside that limit. So on Election Day, we'll have judges watching individuals with buttons or out speaking for a candidate or for an issue, but we will ask them to be outside that 100-foot limit. And really, I think, if I'm correct, it's at the bottom of the hill.
Yes,
is
it's
where
the bottom
we put
of the hill.
signs.
How well I know in cold weather.
So no electioneering within 100 feet of
Right.
the entrance to the building.
Any questions from the public at all? Other members of council? Rhonda? Are we good to go? Okay.
I'd like to thank Janice personally for getting the ballot box out front. I know she went through a lot of effort, and hopefully it'll make it a lot easier for us to be able to vote in town. So thank you very much.
And I want to thank Clint, too, for encouraging me.
Easy to encourage. You did it. So
We, by the way, we got a grant. We're getting a grant from the Secretary of State's office to pay for a major portion of that.
How much did that cost? Just,
It's probably about $6,000 when we got a $4,000 grant.
that's great. That's
So,
wonderful.
Janet, one quick question, might not necessarily have to do with the election, but your new office or temporary office in the Ute Building, that's also the motor vehicle center also, correct?
Thanks for asking that. No, we're no longer across from St. Mary's Church on Main Street. So
Okay.
we've divided our office. So if you want to, with motor vehicle registration, or if you want to do some land use recording research, those two offices are in the basement of the Vectra building, the bank.
Oh.
And that is on Hyman. So if everyone knows where the Ute City building
Right,
is, Vectra is just down at the other end of the
Down the
block
street.
across the street
Okay.
downstairs.
So the bank you're referring to is across from the drum. Is that the
No.
Vector?
No.
No,
No, no,
it's
no.
across.
The Vector's, it's on another street.
It's on the other end of the block from the Elks Lodge.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, got it. Okay.
I always like to, I refer to, here I go. So you don't know where the Ute City Bank is? Well, you used to know where the Ute Bar and Grill was, right?
Yeah,
So
right,
there
right.
you go. And as I just did, well, you know where the Elks Lodge is. It's on the other the block. So there
We
you go.
don't know Aspen by the streets, we just know how to get
Yeah,
around.
we just know
Yeah.
where specific
Very
points
true.
are.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Janice.
thank you, Janice. It's great to see you and glad you were here. We will now we are now going to open public comment. Yes, come on up. Yeah. Either Mike or sit over here and good to see you.
My name's Albert Slapp, and I live at 10 Martingale Lane, and I'm also a property owner at Snowmass Mountain Condominiums. First, I'd like to acknowledge, I have never been to one of these meetings before, I apologize for that, but acknowledge that you put the public first for the comments. I've been to other public meetings in my career as an environmental trial lawyer for 40 years, and zoning hearings where the public all goes last at around 11 o'clock at night, so I acknowledge you for putting the public first. So I'm really here to talk about just briefly two issues. I'm going to be very brief, and this is something I've addressed with Clint. So on Sunday, September 18th, there was a race, a bike race. It was called a timed ride. I didn't know about it. Like many of you, I go out early in the morning and do the rim trail, and I was up on the rim. I entered on Divide Road, which was, I guess, the south part. You can enter at Sinclair, you can enter at Horse Ranch, you can enter up on Divide. There was no sign posted there. I did see a sign at Sinclair, and people who were stuck with me up at the top as the racers were going by said that there was a small sign which they didn't interpret as a closure, so they came up with their children and their dogs. I was hit 3 times by bikers who would not slow down to let me clear the trail. At one point, I called 911 and talked to one of the officers and said, I got a group of people up here that were like pinned down. What is going on? Because, and he said, there's no race. And I said, sir, there is a race because you've got young men on bicycles with numbers on them, and their hands aren't on the brake, and they're not giving people time to clear the trail. So we talked that through, and I've subsequently talked to Clint about it, but I'm here to propose some signage and a resolution. I've given you all copies. There's some copies back there for the audience, and I'll just read it very quickly, and I won't take up a lot of time. That especially on the rim trail, but maybe other places as well, you could post signs that say something like this: attention bikers, this is a mixed-use trail. You must brake for hikers, giving them time to move to the side of the trail, even if this means dismounting. Oh, heaven forbid they should dismount. Hitting a hiker may subject you to civil and criminal prosecution. Quote, this is Snowmass Village trail culture, respect it. Normally, when I'm up on the rim trail, the bikers do brake, and they do give you time. This was, as far as I could tell, it was a race. They had no hand on the brake, and they weren't giving people time to clear the trail. The fact that nobody was injured, nobody was killed, was a miracle. And if that had happened, I'm not here to give you legal advice, but there could have been lawsuits. And the fact that the village didn't close the trail properly or properly monitor and warn people could have been the subject of a lawsuit. You don't want that, and you don't want anybody to be hurt. And we do want to enforce as much as possible, or encourage, maybe enforce is not the right word, but to encourage mixed-use trail culture throughout Snowmass. There are other parts of Snowmass that warn hikers to stay off of that area, and I, for one, do. I don't wander on the area of Snowmass that's for the mountain bikers. But when they come on the rim trail, which is known as mixed use, and are flat out, then they're liable. They have no better right to be there or superior right to be there than anyone else. So that sort of covers that issue. And the second issue, which Clint is I think helping us resolve, and I've given you pictures and videos, is that we have a problem over at Anderson Ranch with a certain wood-burning technique that's putting up a lot of black smoke, and this was all summer long. They were putting up this black smoke. And, you know, as an I was the head environmental lawyer for the city of Philadelphia. For my current job, I have a technology company down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm a registered voter. I'm a property owner here in Snowmass. So this is my home. I've first visited Aspen on a family camping trip in 1966. I lived in Snowmass Village for the summer of 1970. I've been around here for a long time. When you fly over, I've seen black smoke like this when they're starting up a fracking well. But when you drive over the big cities of America, you don't see black smoke anymore. Even coal-fired power plants just put out steam. They have technology and equipment like a vacuum cleaner. When you have a vacuum cleaner in your house, the dirt stays in the bag and the air goes out. It's called a bag house. It's been around for about 150 years. And we closed down a lot of black smoke industries when I was the head environmental lawyer in the city of Philadelphia. This smoke is unacceptable nuisance right in the heart of Snowmass Village. And I don't see how the village council, it's not a fracking well, it's Anderson Ranch, which is a respected 50-year-old institution, which we all love, and I mean that. But they cannot freely transfer their pollution onto me and the rest of the residents. They must invest in modern pollution control equipment. They can't have this thick black smoke emanating whenever they light the fires up all summer. It's wrong, and I don't see how this village, which is trying to get a reputation as green, oh, we're going to, you know, be carbon neutral, and we don't want, you know, CO2 emissions. Well, that's a lot of CO2 emissions as well as black soot, and I'm not sure it's consistent with the image that we're trying to put forth, not just here, but nationally and perhaps globally as a green city, village, whatever you want to say. So those are my two issues. I've never been here before. I've never even had a traffic ticket, had no reason to come to this building. So that's, you know, I would like to see the council address both of these issues, and you know, that's my point here.
A quick question for Albert.
Want to make sure he gets it back.
I'll get a bag if I speak for the first time.
Good memory.
Thank you. Okay,
Albert,
that's great. Thank you.
Albert and Clint, have you met with Nancy Wilhelm yet?
We're going to meet with
Okay.
her, and I'm going to try to help mediate through this
Okay.
problem, and maybe it won't require council, but I needed to make council aware because some people really weren't aware of
Yeah, I
how
wasn't until you told me.
how it
Yeah.
actually looks. So I've sent you the video, I've sent you pictures, and you can see for yourself.
How
This-
much are one of those bags?
You know, I could help her research that, and
Okay.
I'm prepared, you know, just pro bono to try to help them work through this. It's not an adversarial thing. It's
No,
just
they just
something
try
that
to
to
fix
come
it.
into the modern age, you know, maybe 100 years too late, but to come into the modern age, they're going to need to do something about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Al.
very much.
Okay, any other public comment? Yes, please come forward, state your name, and then the topic, and welcome.
Hi, my name is Kenan Foreman, and I'm a resident of the Snowmass Villas, also known as the Blue Roofs. And actually, when I first moved here 2 years ago, I called 911 because I thought there was a fire at Anderson Ranch when I first saw this. So, was quickly told it was just their process. So, yeah, it's alarming to see the smoke. Anyway, I'm a part of the Snowmass Villa board. I'm a board member who has been tasked with the job of organizing our community, our ownership, and the community at large to prepare for this change in the master plan or the review of the master plan. And also, we did meet with Anderson Ranch about the proposed grant that they're looking to receive from the Toll Brothers. And really, the only reason that I'm here representing the board is just to state publicly that we want to be part of this process. We're directly affected because we're neighbors. We have a visual line of sight to Anderson Ranch and their proposed area of development. Like the gentleman said, my kids have taken courses there. We've had people stay with us. We're big fans of Anderson Ranch, but we just want to be part of this whole process as they go down the road of trying to either expand their residence or their art studios, and we want to have at least some sort of involvement in the process.
I really appreciate your comment. We haven't seen any proposal yet, as you probably are aware, but stay tuned because we post all of the public meetings and when an issue is on the town, whether it be planning commission or town council, and we'd appreciate your comments and involvement, and I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll all
no,
reach out
thank
to
you for that. And again, we know that nothing has been submitted. There's nothing on paper. There's nothing at the commission.
Well, it's
but
good to be forewarned that something's coming.
Exactly. And we were, and again, just to state again, we'd like to be a part of the process and not only for our little community, but the community as a whole.
Really appreciate it.
So,
Thank you so
all.
very much.
And you qualify for a bag, Ken, make sure you can.
We'll get rid of these bags.
Well, no, I'm serious. I want to encourage public comment, and I think people need to understand that they're going to be rewarded. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else this evening? If not, we're going to move into the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
A motion to approve.
Oops. You need me- who-
I don't care. Whoever said it down there.
Bob can do it, and you'll second?
Sure.
Okay, any item you want to pull out?
Just wanted to have something to discuss on the on the minutes section.
Okay, and which minutes is that?
I'll tell you in a minute. It is the October 4th.
Okay,
Primarily they're typos and those types of things. So first one is line 15, public present, typo under Jeff Kramer's name.
Yeah, it says Jeff.
Next is line 22, and I think this carries on to other parts. I see line 27
yep.
and line 36. RWAPA is, the abbreviation is RWAPA.
Okay.
And that might be all.
Nope.
Nope, one more on line 130. It's Greg Smith, who is the chair of the Financial Advisory Board, not Bruce.
Oh, yes. Big difference.
Not Bruce.
Okay, do we have any other corrections to the minutes?
Yeah, one more.
Okay,
Sorry. On line 202, I think it's supposed to be Garmish and not Garnish.
yeah, garbage. And we need to put Parton Kirkenby behind it. It's a hyphenated. When,
Then you have,
I'll
you
be
have to,
honored,
you have to,
Partenkirchen. That one happened back with the Olympics back in 1940 when Hitler wanted to do the Olympics. It's 40 or 36.
36.
He did a whole declaration the towns would merge. And there'll be more on that later. But very interesting history.
And that's all.
Okay,
So just to go back on line 207, I did mention in those minutes, just for Albert's sake, about your emails. So we did acknowledge, just so you understand, we got your emails, and I did bring it up for a future talk about it.
and this was one of the hot topics is conflict between bikers and hikers, so stay tuned. There's gonna be more on that one soon. And Clint and I, we've gotta figure out how we wanna process that. I'm suggesting a small work group, hikers and bikers, but that's for different conversation. Any other corrections to minutes? Okay, all in support?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign? No? Okay, it passes unanimously. We're going to move on to public hearings. There is not a public hearing that's quasi-judicial. We're going to move, though, into the policy legislative public hearing. The first item on the agenda is road improvement. And hello, Ann.
Hi there.
And I'm going to go ahead and open this to public comment, okay?
Yes. So I'm Ann Martins, Public Works Director for the Town of Snowmass Village. And each year, as part of the municipal code, we bring forth the projects that we anticipate we'll be doing in the next year's budget cycle. And I apologize, I just noticed I had a typo. We also had a typo in the agenda item, but it's the 2017 road improvements. The proposed projects for next year is Horse Ranch Drive from Bridle Path Lane to the top of the road, which is a cul-de-sac. Horse Ranch Drive from Brush Creek Road to Branding. Trail Rider Lane, Bridle Path Lane, and then Carriageway, we're looking at doing some, it's not an overlay project, but more crack filling and seal coating of the concrete section to maintain that infrastructure. So attached to the memo was a map showing the project areas. Basically, the staff goes through and does an assessment of the roadways each year at fall, and then we also do it in spring before we go out to bid for construction contracts and make sure it's in kind with what we brought forward. And detailed down below is the financial impacts that we had included into the budget, which is $300,000. And then detailed below that is those annual overlays I just talked about, which included the road work on Carriageway. We also have $45,000 in there for road improvements, which is top of the village. And I can talk about that for a second. And then lastly, we had in there the $60,000, which is the design work, next phase of design work for the Owl Creek roundabout project. Going back to the top of the village discussion, this dates back to when SRA turned over roads to the town, and we have been working through deeding those back to those property owners. And so this is the last of those properties, which is basically parking lots or access to parking areas. That has been a discussion, and we've spent dollars through the road fund to bring those back to the standards and then turn them back, deed them back to those property owners. Right now, we anticipate that project is actually $85,000, so we're looking at a 2-year phase project. So, but right now, I have in there $45,000, and depending on how bids come in next spring, then we would look at how much we can get done. But basically, there's 8 carports that we need to go back and restore those to original condition, and then that's the deed back to that property.
And which property is that, Ann?
Top of the village.
Top of the village property, okay.
Yep. So basically, this is a presentation. There's no formal action by council needed tonight, but basically it's a public hearing to open it up for public comment. And then we would go close the hearing, and then it's included in the budget as presented to you today. And then we'd, in springtime, come back and we'd go out to bid for those projects, just as mentioned.
Oh, any comments or questions for Ann from council?
I had a question. Can you talk about the 60,000 for the Owl Creek roundabout?
Yes. So I don't have the specific year in front of me, but preliminary conceptual design had started with SGM on that intersection and putting in a roundabout at that intersection. We have some preliminary cost estimates, but basically this next phase of design process would be doing utility locates, property locates, and then working through the more detailed design process and bringing that back to council for discussion on what the design would look like, as well as a gut check on what that budget would be so that we can plan for the future of that improvement. So basically, it's a progress of doing design, getting finalized numbers, and then continuing to talk about how we do these improvement projects to maintain those level of services that we need at those intersections, or at that intersection. That make sense?
And when would you anticipate putting this design work out to bid? Or do you put it out to bid, or is this an SGM thing?
I think it would be an SGM. We've talked about that internally. Since they have done the preliminary conceptual work, it makes sense to continue with them. But we would go through and ask them for a design proposal and make sure we have a contract in place with SGM for that specific project.
When would you anticipate this work was?
Not till the beginning of 2017 when the funds are available.
What's the earliest?
In the first
Yeah.
quarter?
Well, I mean, we'd start working on the design scope. We talked to them about, let's work on this
Yeah, but in
proposal.
other words, do you think you would turn it over to SGM first quarter, second quarter?
First quarter preferably. You know, we try to go through and prioritize which projects we have. Next year is a little bit more of a design year as far as projects and the capital improvement, but we've got a lot of cleanup and finishing of projects that didn't get finished this year. So I usually spend the winter season working on contract documents and office work that you can't get done in the field, and then we go to construction usually April, May.
Well, here's a question for you, and it fits into the construction management plan for Base Village. So would we be looking, you've got the crystal ball here. Are you looking at doing a roundabout construction at the same time this may be going on?
I don't have that in the 5-year, what year did we have that plugged in?
The short answer is we don't know.
Yeah,
Next year is the design work. The design's gonna dictate cost is gonna dictate feasibility, and feasibility will come back to you guys in a CIP. I mean, realistically, it could be within 5 years, and construction could still be going on within 5 years. I don't think it's out of the realm of that happening. I think it's a potential of that happening. But those are the kind of issues we deal with at that time. And kind of when it would go out, Ann and I haven't talked about when it would go out exactly, but it might go out later in the first quarter, only in that some of the design parameters might change, the feedback we get with the roundabout, and those kind of issues. The council has been very clear about, hey, let's make sure we, get some feedback on the blinking lights or whatever. If we wanted to incorporate that kind of design, it might be wise to put that design out a little bit later in the first quarter. But we haven't got to that level of specificity yet.
So SGM has done work on this before.
correct. Just conceptual.
I'm going all the way back a few years when we had a whole design that we paid for.
It was 2013-ish, I think is the timeframe,
There
12,
may have
13.
been another one before that too.
Okay.
This is not the first time it's come
But
up.
this takes it to the next level up, and it makes for at least more detailed discussions about feasibility, property lines,
Right.
utilities, all those types of real issues that matter when you get to the design.
What's the,
And I'm a little confused with the, underneath the background where it says to have an asphalt overlay or have concrete work. Where are we talking? Are we talking like on the way up to crossings?
So the asphalt overlay was the first 4 projects that are listed in the beginning of that memo. So it's a Horse Ranch Drive, Trail Rider, and Bridle Path. That's an overlay on the existing asphalt. The next project, which is Carriageway, which is Wood Road, basically from the mini roundabout to the treehouse. We need to maintain that infrastructure. I'm putting seal coats on the concrete so it doesn't lose
Okay.
the moisture. That's what
I
that
was
is.
unclear about where exactly that was happening.
That's all right.
Thank you.
And the carports that you were referencing at top of the village, those are on the left-hand side of the road, is that right?
Yes. Each of those 8 approaches into the
Okay.
different access points.
Okay, any questions from the public? Nope. Okay, hearing none. Oh, come on up.
He just wants another bag.
No, we're,
Only one bag per meeting.
bag or just one?
you only get one.
Just about the roads, I know we've talked and I've written some emails about this too, but the bus stop at Sinclair and Brush Creek, there is the bus stop on either side. There's also the school bus stops there as well. And it's an incredibly dangerous stop. Cars come down that hill, even coasting at 50 miles per hour. The police have been great. I've talked to Chief Olson a number of times, and they've stationed cars there. But there was talk about having a flashing crosswalk there. I know there's something in the summer and winter it's removed. You see people standing there in the middle of the crosswalk, and cars just go right by. They never stop. And we wondered if that was in the proposal or plan to
That's
put
in
a
a C-
flashing crosswalk.
That's in
there.
the CCP.
Okay.
So it's in a plan that's being discussed. It's been proposed. There's been some very conceptual designs. There's not budgeted dollars for 17 for that yet, but the council, through the upcoming comprehensive plan process, is really looking for feedback on those types of design options to make sure they in fact fit with community character and whatnot.
Yeah, there, and also right across from the fire station where the trail comes down, crossing
Yeah.
there. It's the same place where,
Yeah.
that my kids have spent some time there. Cars will not stop for you, no matter what.
Ken,
Great.
just a clarification, when you say cars are coming down the hill, you're talking about the Sinclair Hill?
No, coming down from here, down
Yeah.
Brush Creek towards, towards,
Yeah, towards that intersection,
right, and
because it's actually uphill just before that
Just
intersection,
before it.
right? Okay,
Exactly.
just trying to get clarification.
yes,
on where-
exactly.
where-
There's a little rise, and it's really, I feel for the cars. Oftentimes, there's a visual impairment with the sun, and you're coasting, you're not on the gas, but the speed is great, and you see cars just they don't even slow down when kids are standing there.
Just as I guess an FYI to you, I mean, one of the things that we've talked about and we're looking forward to is when we have this roundabout operating this winter, it will have some flashing signs, and we will get an opportunity to see how well both motorists and pedestrians deal with those those crosswalks and lines and so forth.
They seem to be quite effective in
They're
Aspen
very
in
effective.
town.
Well,
and-
there's
and-
interesting, there's a new study out that talks about they're not always effective because there's a false sense of security. That's
Yeah.
just coming out, and I read about it, I heard about it last night. So we always need to have our eyes open to every alternative that we possibly can to deal with the safety issues. But that's part of the CCP, and we need to move on because there are a lot.
Thank
But
you.
thank you.
So much.
Thanks. Okay, anything else for public? Yes. Sure. Okay, guys, we're gonna,
Well, let's close this public hearing, then we can take a
okay, I'm gonna close. Anybody else in the public? If not, I'll close the public hearing. We'll take a 2-minute, 3-minute.
Can I ask all the members of the public to please sign in the back?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.